Hi there, my name is Lai Lacaba, and today I'll be talking about from chaos to repeatable results, how to make systems easy. Now, I do encourage that throughout the whole talk that you guys do ask any questions that you might have in the chat or the comments box, and I'll be more than happy to interact with you guys. For those who have no idea about my background or what I do, so I actually started working online as a freelance writer when I was 15 years old. So this was way back in 2011 when no one knew anything about working online. I was fairly new, and I literally just had someone say, "Hey, I like the way that you write your blog posts. Can you do this for me?" And I was like, yes. So that is basically how I've started everything, all of my career path and everything else. So I also worked as a book editor for a US publishing company, became CEO of that book publishing company when I turned 20 years old, and just basically ran it for about 3 to 4 years. And then at 22, I actually started 2XU, my current company. First originally started as a course that we were selling. We were basically showing people how to hire virtual assistants, and then we turned it into an actual service. So I now help run 3 different companies here in Cebu, Philippines, and we have more than 60 employees. So this is the picture that you guys see right here are just my company. We've grown a lot since then, and at the same time I've also helped grow 2 other companies, including the publishing company that I used to run. Now I've also been able to talk all over Asia about what I love, which is going remote, whether it is you changing your career to become a virtual assistant or how you can turn your business to be fully remote by hiring people online. Now, by the end of this talk, my goal is to really, if you guys probably find this familiar, hopefully. This is from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where they talk about how to turn from being an employee to being self-employed to being business owner or as an investor, the differences between the 4. Now, if you are listening to this talk, you're probably in either employee or self-employed. You might also be already a business owner, which is good on you. But on this one, we'll be focusing on taking you from being someone who's just, you have your own business, you started it, but you're still working for yourself, to being an actual business owner. And the biggest, I'm going to give you guys the spoiler early on. The biggest difference between self-employed and business owner is when you're self-employed, you own a job. When you're business owner, you own a system. So is this you right now? So let me know in the comments in the chat. So one is you've succeeded in doing something cool, but then you can't actually repeat it. You'd say, very fun example is, let's say you've done a backflip, but then you can't do it again. Or you made the world's best chocolate cake, but again, you can't repeat it. It seems that you can only do it really once. And have you experienced, maybe you've even just taught it to someone else, but you still end up doing it yourself? Let me know in the comments. I know this is something that is a little bit painful, especially as you're hiring and you're trying to get this expert and they just can't do it the same way that you can, right? And lastly, are you someone who's experienced having inconsistent results, even though you've done it before? So a very fun example of this, at least for me, is I will have, because I'm on TikTok, I will teach people how to work from home on my TikTok. Sometimes it'll get like 100,000 views. Sometimes only 10. So there is that inconsistency of like, wait, what? I did it exactly-ish the same way that I thought I did. Why didn't it produce the same amount of results that I wanted it to? So that is basically what a broken system looks like. Now, I know you might be wondering, why systems? Why is this something that I chose to talk about in this forum? Well, the biggest thing is a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, self-employed people never think about how powerful having a system can be inside of your own business, especially as you start scaling. Now, this is one of my specialties, is really helping a lot of entrepreneurs to scale a business that grows beyond them. So you can then take day offs. Last September, I went off to Moalboal here in Cebu for a week, and everything was fine because we built systems. That is basically why I chose this. Now, here you can see if your system is broken, everything stops, everything halts. You can't keep going with a broken gear. So as we start moving forward, actually, I want to define what is a system. What does a system look like when you are running or you're growing a business? The first thing is, it's usually known, and I'll probably use this term a lot, as a standard operating procedure or an SOP. Now, from those words already, you can already understand that it's standard operating procedure. This is the way that we usually do things. That is basically what it is. And it is just a repeatable way to have repeat results, to have that backflip, the same backflip over and over again, to have that same amazing chocolate cake over and over again, or how to repeatedly get the same sale from someone else because you've been able to create a system on how you get them. Or it's just also one of the fastest ways to train someone in something new. Let's say you just hired someone to replace you in doing your social media marketing in your own business. Having a system to do that before, either before they were hired or you're doing it with them, is one of the easiest way that they can like, oh, now I get it and now I own this. This is now my system. And also it's one of the easiest ways, like I said, to replace yourself so you can focus on other things. Like I mentioned, that one trip that I went to Mobile for a week, that wasn't a one-off. I've done that multiple times inside of my business where I can just take off at different times and I know things will still be intact. Nothing will be on fire by the time I get back. And my employees know that if there is something on fire, they can just contact me, or they have been able to be trained enough that they can now actually also handle it themselves. So that is kind of the power of having the right systems. Now, try to imagine that systems are like different cogs right here. You have the sales cog, you have the marketing cog, you have the admin cog, and things work together to produce that same result that you keep getting in your business over and over again. Because when you're a business owner, you're making money, you're making sales, and you want to keep making those money and that sales so you can keep going and growing, right? So the biggest way or the fastest way to do that is having these systems, is having this way that you're able to, again, replace yourself, have things be, have the same results, unless like, Facebook changes the algorithm all of a sudden again. That is, having this system, having this documentation will help your business grow a lot. Now, step one on how to build this whole system. Now, hopefully at this point you're ready, because I will be dropping a lot of different tips that I've learned myself in the last 10 years working online on how to build systems. Now, the first thing, write down what you have to do for a certain task. Now, what I mean by this is basically this phrase, say what you do and do what you say. Now, what that means is, say what you do is essentially just write down every action that you make. So again, imagine you were writing down the SOP on how to create the best chocolate cake, right? So try to slow down and walk yourself through what are the different things that you are doing to actually get to that world's best chocolate cake. So try to imagine what that would look like. So write down every action that you make, whether you are taking out, the bowl from your cabinet, or you're making sure that it's washed, making sure that it's clean. And then you can create that SOP for the systems that you've already made. One of the ways that I always think about SOPs, or standard operating procedures, is to think about them as a recipe. And this is actually a thought that I got from a guy named Jeff Hunter. He's super amazing. And that was one of the things that he explained, is try to think of it as recipes, as a way that you're trying to write everything down, so then if someone else was going to follow that, they're able to make that same chocolate cake. Now, do what you say simply means you or the employees have to execute the document that you've written down. So it's not enough that you wrote it down. It's not enough that it's written down in a document, in a Word doc, or anywhere else. It has to be something that can be executed by someone else other than you. And that's where all of the magic happens, is when someone else other than you can execute this system. Now, the other side of it is, once someone actually executed, making sure that that document is still up to date. Like I said earlier, the Facebook algorithm changes, the Instagram, whatever it is that you're getting your sales from, that might change. So you want to make sure that you're keeping these documents up to date as much as possible. Now, step two, now that you have that, you've written down every single step that you're doing, you've written down even the smallest things of like taking the bowl out, making sure it's clean. Then you want to make sure that you write an introduction. Now, what this means, what is an introduction basically, is what is the purpose of this document, for the person who has no idea how to do the tasks, to get a clear goal or outcome for the task. What does this look like basically once it's done? So going with the world's best chocolate cake example, what this looks like when it's done is you will be in seventh heaven eating this. not really, but basically what the an introduction is, if no one has any context what a cake is, what chocolate is, what a dessert is, then you're giving them that context. So let's say you're creating an SOP, for example, on how you guys create your Facebook ads. Then you'll say, this document is how we create our Facebook ads, so we're able to generate revenue or leads for the business. So you're already telling them, okay, what can I expect? What can I learn from going through this document? That's basically all that what the introduction it is. You're giving them the clear aim and purpose of the task in the introduction. You're giving them what does this look like once it's actually done. Next, step 3 is now writing down the tools. So what this means is basically these are things that they will need access to. So again, going back to the chocolate cake example, hopefully at this point you guys have gotten really hungry, just me using that as an example, is you put in the ingredients. What are different ingredients that they need, or what are the different tools that they need to prepare to be able to do this cake? So it could be, a certain login, access to a kitchen. It could be database or templates that they would need to be able to do this certain thing. It could be making sure that you have a pancake mix. It could be making sure that you have this mix. And then authorization from the employer. If you're going to, make a cake, make sure you ask permission from someone if you're just borrowing their kitchen or something like that. But of course, translating this to actual work, it's making sure that they have actual permission to do a certain task, because they might be taking over something that someone else might be doing, so there's going to be that conflict. So having that clarity. And again, tools that they need to use. Do they need to have access to just Facebook? Do they need this certain tool that you've been using forever? What are different things that they need, again, to succeed? Because that is basically the point of having a standard operating procedure, is you want someone else to do the task that you're doing. Now, after that, and after you have the tools, you have, okay, these are different things that you need, these are the ways that you can succeed. Next, step 4 is you want to list the steps in chronological order with screenshots. So what I mean by this is it's important to include screenshots in your system, because you want to make sure that for the visual learners, for people who like actually seeing things, they can learn this really quick. And also, it makes sure that both of you are seeing the same thing. It makes sure that they're on the right track, that just you and the person are on the right track when you're creating the system. And again, some people are just visual learners. Some people just learn by seeing things. That way, if the interface is updated, that way, if they did like a whole overhaul of what their website looks like, the person who's following the system will be like, this is not updated, which of course will then be a cue for you to make sure that you update this. So what writing out steps basic is just now that you have the introduction, you have the tools, how do you actually do this? So we've answered the what is this, what are the tools, now how do we actually do this? And again, I really recommend that you go step by step, so you have that basically clarity of what are things that I might have missed, didn't put this here, or you accidentally might have missed, like, put in a title for the ad that you're putting out. So again, you want to be as specific as possible to ensure that repeatable result. Now, it might sound a little bit tedious, but you do have to do this, because if you don't, then you still have to give them the right instructions. You still have to give them feedback over and over again for something that could be fixed by putting it in the document. Now, step 5 is then, if you have time, if you can do it, and you probably can, write a video tutorial. Actually, not write a video tutorial, create a video tutorial for that task. So what that means is a video tutorial at the end of that document will help both you and the employee. It's an extra step to make sure that they understand it clearly. You can use tools like Loom or Vidyard or some other tool that lets you screen capture the whole process with video. So then again, that's just an extra step in clarity. There's just an extra step in making sure that you guys are on the same page. That's basically what it is that you guys are trying to build here. Now, step 6 is then double check the document. So what that means is then you're now applying, that second half, the first half is say what you do. The second half, first half is say what you do, second half is do what you say. You want to make sure that you read back the document from the start. You go through it of like, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? If someone was doing this for the first time, am I using too much jargon on this? Am I using too technical words? So again, you're going through it again. And you want to also follow it step by step to see if what you're doing is actually said in this statement. So what this could look like is you can show this document to someone else and say, hey, can you do this? And if there are a few things that they skipped, that's not their fault. That is your fault. So you want to make sure, again, that you've written down every single thing that they need to do to be able to get the same result that you're getting. And treat it like it's a checklist. Treat it like it's a way for you to, you're just check every step is a thing that you can check off to make sure that you are, again, doing the same thing as if you were doing it over and over again yourself. Now, step 7 is then keep updating the SOP. So like I said earlier, an SOP can be just as effective as you working on it or using it. So if you're not keeping it up to date, if there's been changes or shortcuts that you found, so again, what this means is just make sure you keep it updated. You add new ways to make the work easier. If you found a shortcut of like, hey, if we just did A, B, C, we're doing this usually, but we can actually skip B and C and just do D right away, then that's what you can do. That's you update your documentation to make sure that it reflects that, because then of course it saves you time, saves the other person time, and gets to the results faster. When there's a new shortcut again or a new website design for the tool that you're showing off or you're teaching how to do, making sure that it's up to date. And you want to try to at least schedule out a quarterly check if your SOPs are up to date. You want to make sure, like for us within the company, we actually have a date of last edited, and then every quarter we check like, okay, when was the last time we edited this thing, and then making sure that they're actually up to date to what we're currently using. And again, an SOP is only as good as when you actually use it. If you're not using it anymore, it's not an actually updated SOP or a useful SOP. So that's basically a lot of why creating a system is really essential in a business. When you're creating systems, what I usually call it, next level for that is what I call creating bulletproof systems. Even when things go wrong, even when things get hit, you're still having this way that you can, again, create those repeatable results. So first part is document. Again, it's the writing down your tasks. It is writing down how you do it or record yourself doing it. Step 2, implement. So implement is basically testing the document, have someone else do the task. And the third one is just update, keep it updated. Check the document every quarter and update with new shortcuts and tools. So this is kind of the formula that we use inside of our company to make sure that our systems are always up to date. And it's not just with us. This is something that all of our clients experience when they're working with us is everything documented? Is this document actually something that's implemented? Is this thing that's implemented actually also updated regularly? So having those checks again and making sure that it's actually something that is usable and not just with you. Now, hopefully at this point you are ready to apply this system to your own company, and I would really, really love it to see this happen more, because it makes things less chaotic, make things less painful, and again gives you the freedom to actually do different things inside of your business. Now, thank you so much, everyone. Feel free to connect with me in any of these platforms. I am most active in all of them, just because I do love creating content myself. So feel free to reach out to me at any point if you have any questions, or again, drop them below. I'm more than happy to interact with you guys and help you guys out to gain some clarity on systems, on all of this. And thank you so much for listening in. Again, I hope you have learned a lot from everything that I've talked about today, and I'm looking forward to having you turn your chaos into something repeatable through systems.